Welcome to LBM Talks Social Media. I'm Sally Lacey, the social media manager for LBM Journal, and every other week I have conversations with lumber dealers from around the country about how they're using social media to grow their business. I hope you stick around, because it's time to get social. Zach O'Brien, hello. Welcome to our podcast, LBM Talks Social Media. Welcome.
Hi, Sally. Thanks for having me. Great to see you.
Good to see you again. All of our audience members, this is Zach O'Brien. I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit, but Zach and I met actually about a year ago, and then I saw you again at a previous conference, which was a publishers conference, and Zach actually gave a talk on, he's given several talks on social media management, content creation, all that kind of stuff. So I reached out to him to see if he would want to come on this podcast, and he agreed. So Zach, why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit? Just take it away.
Yeah, I'll try to be as concise as possible. I'm Zach O'Brien. I essentially mostly work in media, so I own an outdoor media company in Northern California. We have a print magazine, and we also have our website and our very popular social media accounts. I also run social for a handful of other media companies with a ton of other brands and on different subject lines. So I'm kind of all over the place. I do a lot of different social media work within small media companies. And then I also have a small content marketing agency, which we specialize in doing content for mostly local businesses within the tourism community here in Northern California. But also I work with events like the event that we met at. So I do a lot of different content and social media for a lot of different people. Yeah.
So for your agency, is that, when you say content, is that just for social platforms?
No, we do a little bit of everything as long as it's within like the content realm. Like, we're not big into like design and stuff, but if you want to do a newsletter, if you want to do blogs on your website, if you want to do social media or video content, that's sort of what we specialize in. And I think that's kind of where marketing, especially social media marketing, is going to, is just creating content for people instead of, a marketing campaign that says, hey, we're the greatest. I think it's better to provide your audience with insights and entertainment and education. So, yeah,
it seems like you are doing a lot. I mean, when I heard kind of all of the things you have your toes dipped in, it's like, how is he doing all of this? But kudos to you.
My wife thinks I have adult ADD, but I haven't gotten it diagnosed yet. So I like to do a lot of different things, and especially when you're doing creative stuff, like avoiding burnout for me is being able to hop over to a different project and work on something else creatively. So I've sort of found this niche and just doing a bunch of different things, and I really enjoy it.
Oh, nice. I'm glad you are scratching your creative itch.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your background in social media marketing. Like, did that start with Active NorCal? How did you get into that?
I was so I graduated college in 2010, and throughout college there were people, they were on MySpace and Facebook, and I just refused it. I was an in-person type of guy, and when I left college and I moved away from all my friends, I hopped on Facebook and I started messing around with it. I actually got a job right out of college working for the NBA, the National Basketball Association, and I was part of the PR team, and so part of that was like doing Twitter updates and posting on Facebook. So it's kind of how I started dipping my toes into it. It certainly wasn't, it probably wasn't even part of the job description when I got the job, but it was just where things were going back then in the early 2010s. And then when I left that, my first job out of college with the NBA, I started my own media business, Active NorCal, and print magazine about outdoor activities in Northern California. And social media marketing wasn't even really a topic that we talked about. But what we did is every time our magazine would come out, we'd take all the articles, we'd put it on our website, and then we'd sort of trickle it out onto our Facebook page. And yeah, so we just started putting it out on Facebook because, why not? And it started to grow. We weren't even looking at analytics. We started to see, oh wow, we have 10,000 followers. That's weird. And also people started reading the articles. Like we'd have 10,000 people on our website, then 20,000, and it really was like an eye opener of, oh, this can actually help grow the business. So, and at that point, we actually in 2016. So 2016, we actually went all digital, and we just went all in on our social media pages, and we've since brought back our print magazine. But that's been my life for the last 10 years is, marketing content for our media company on social media mostly.
Right. I love that kind of whole why not thing. I feel like that's just a great kind of mantra to have is just why not? Like, why not post it to Facebook and just see what happens? And sounds like a lot did.
It's a lesson that can still be used today, right? Like, why not try to start a TikTok page? Why not try to throw things up on YouTube, And if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. You probably have a base business you could still fall back on. But, only positives can come from it, in my opinion. There's not a whole lot of negatives that can come from jumping in and saying why not.
Totally. And that's also that story is a great message of consistency, which is a LinkedIn post that I read of yours recently. Zach is on LinkedIn and he shares a lot about social media management and content creation. Yeah, like you said that consistency is huge.
Yeah, it's just consistency is the number one thing for me. Like, your content can change, your strategy can change, but if you're showing up, every day or every week or whatever your strategy or your schedule is, people are going to respond and they're going to follow. It's the old marketing saying, like, someone has to see your ad 3 times before they want to buy, right? Like, there are so many brands that I'm loyal to today that I saw 3, 5, 10 times before I said, you know what, I'm going to give them a follow. I actually like their stuff. So if you're not doing it consistently, and I'm saying consistently, like year over year, not giving up after a couple months, because eventually it will come. And so consistency and consistently trying to put out good content is always going to work in my book. Yeah.
I just recorded with a marketing professional in our industry the other day, and she said that those touch points, like numbers, are up in the 50s. And she's a huge advocate on just showing up on social media so that people can find you and have those touch points. So that's a great story about Facebook. So that's kind of where it started, and now it's Meta with Facebook and Instagram. And you also have, I don't know how many followers you have on Facebook, and I don't follow you there, so I actually don't know what Active NorCal is like on Facebook, but I do know that you guys have over 100,000 followers on Instagram. So what was when did you guys get onto Instagram, and when did you guys go over there?
I don't even know. I can't even recall. It was probably pretty early on in Instagram's sort of rise, and probably before they were acquired by Meta. Yes, I think we're somewhere around like 160,000 on Facebook, and with Instagram, it's weird because like we're a media company and we're trying to get people to go to our website, right? Like that's how we put ads on the website, and we want as many impressions on those ads as possible. Instagram doesn't do that, right? Like you cannot drive traffic through Instagram. So we sort of started dipping our toes, but we thought, well, what can we gain from this? And it really just turned into almost like a vanity play. Like, hey, let's just grow our audience and have fun and see what happens. And now Instagram is like a huge driver of revenue for us. So.
How so?
Well, so I always say, like, our Facebook audience drives traffic to our website.
Okay.
You and I've said this to you before, but like link in bio on Instagram doesn't work very well anymore, right? So we're just trying to use it to sell our subscriptions, to put our advertising messages out there from our advertisers. And, what's funny is we have more followers on Facebook, but we probably do more impressions nowadays on Instagram, just because we really focus on giving value to people. I always say, like, there's three things you can do on social. You can give information, you can give inspiration, or you can give entertainment, right? And sometimes it's a combination of the two or three. But so we really are just trying to give value to our audience. And they've come back and reciprocated with purchasing our products, or following our advertisers. Also, and I've told you this before, it's that, like, Meta gives out big bonuses now to creators. So, and it's not a ton of money. We make somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 a month on Instagram just from their creator fund. So that we are making money off it, and we can use both Facebook and our newsletter and a couple other mediums just to drive traffic to our website. So.
Okay. So it's a revenue, social media, these platforms are a revenue maker. They are, I'm sure, just huge for brand awareness. Like, as a big Instagram user, that's where you get exposure to new brands, new products. And I'm sure that the link in bio, like, if it's going to work for one thing, it's going to work for driving subscriptions, because that's where people know to go. Be like, oh, okay, now I finally want to subscribe to this magazine.
And to your point, they're probably going to see 100 pieces of content from us before they decide to do that, right? So we're on there constantly, 3, 5, 10 times a day, giving them content and reminding them that we have subscriptions they can buy.
With those over 100,000, I mean, combined, that's almost 300,000 followers on Facebook and Instagram. What was the content strategy that got you there? Because it was the content. So, what was your strategy for it all?
Again, it's inform, entertain, or inspire, right? So, there's a lot of different things we do, right? So we can inspire people to, like, go visit waterfalls. Here's a cool video to go inspire you. Oh, I want to go visit this waterfall. That's one. We can inform, like, water in my neck of the woods in California is like a big topic. Some want to build more dams, others want it more free flowing for salmon runs. So we talk about those controversial topics without taking sides. That's very important in this day in this political age. And then just entertain as much as possible, and hopefully both the inspirational stuff and the educational stuff entertains. So that's really it, as like a media company, as news comes in, we try to repackage it the best, most inspirational, most entertaining, educational way possible. That's really it. I wish there was like a more specific way I could put it, but I think, like, for us, there's like a lot of legacy media out there. There's newspapers and local news stations. And we're just different. We're trying to reach a younger audience. We're trying to have more fun. We're not talking about, I don't know, war in the Middle East or stuff like that. Like, we're trying to, we'll talk about controversial stuff, but, we're not going to frame it with these crazy clickbait type stuff. We just try to be a positive, for the most part, media company.
So those are kind of your content pillars, like, that's what you're trying to do through your content. And you guys you believe and you've seen providing values, just strictly providing value, not really asking for anything in return, has helped you grow your business. Awesome.
Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with Joe Palizzi. He's the founder of the Content Marketing Institute. And he always said,
I know the Content Marketing Institute.
He sold it for a lot of money. He's a very rich man now. But he had a 3-1-1 strategy, and essentially it's you better provide 3 pieces of value for your audience before you ask them for any sort of sale. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's an older model. I think nowadays it's more like 5 to 10 to 1, where, you know, if you're not giving, then don't expect anything in return.
And do you think that prominent form of marketing has risen because of social media? Like, because people are now just online so much and consuming that way, that like now we have to provide value because that's where they are?
Yes, I also think people are sick of traditional marketing, treating, how do I put this? You know, people don't want to be treated like they're stupid. Like, if you tell me you're the best company in the world, well, why would I believe that? I know who that message is coming from, right? Mm-hmm. But if you, I mean, it could be any business, the lumber business. You can tell people information why you should buy this lumber product instead of that lumber product, and provide that information for free, right? And then someone who is really familiar with lumber products says, "Oh, they're right. I should work with this person because they're an expert." Not because they told me they're an expert, because they proved to me that they're an expert. So it's kind of a show, don't tell. And so I think just consumers in general have just gotten a lot smarter. And I do believe still in traditional advertising, don't get me wrong. It's another touch point. It's an important touch point. But you know, you do just need to provide value and to prove to people your expertise before you can ask for a sale.
Totally. People in general, not even like just calling them consumers, people want to be able to trust the brands that they're buying from or relating to, which I would say is probably like also from social media, like kind of that wall being broken down, like we're gonna give you behind the scenes look and all that. So yeah, I like that.
Authenticity is huge these days, right?
Yes, definitely. So I kind of told you a bit about our industry, LBM dealers, lumber dealers. We have massive companies in our industry. We also have small companies, and they're all trying to do the same thing. What you're trying to do, what I'm trying to do, is to use social media well. So do you have any like tips or ideas for content for some of us in this industry? Like, some of the things that I see are these lumber dealers, a lot of the times maybe they're promoting their products and or the products the products that they sell. They're not their products. Their employees, maybe just like company culture and all that kind of stuff. So do you have any ideas for that?
Yeah. So, and I think when you talk about the different sized businesses, I think what's really cool about social media and going to your point of why people should consider social media is these people can be in the same arena, right? Like you could be the biggest lumber company in the area and you could be the smallest, and the smallest could, in theory, outdo the bigger one by having a good content campaign. In terms of content, everyone's different and everyone's objectives are different. I'm just a big fan of authenticity and putting your people, your employees, your managers on camera, right? And really, my guess is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of these lumber products are similar, and of course, there's probably some differences here and there. So you're all fighting the same fight to sell the same product to the same consumer, right? So is that consumer going to be more likely to buy from you if they know who you are, if they trust who you are, if and here's a really silly example. I just recently on TikTok I came across this trucking company in Indiana, and their entire TikTok page is the girl, the intern, they set up a basketball hoop in the door, and she's trying to dunk on the general manager, and they're always trying to trick him. And, I think about stuff like that. I think, like, okay, I don't need a trucking company in Indiana, but if I did, who am I going to think of first, right?
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
And not only that, I call them up, and the intern answers. I'm like, oh, did you dunk on the GM today? I think that sort of connection to an audience can be so valuable to getting a sale. Any salesperson will tell you, like, what's the number one way to get consistent sales from a customer? It's relationships. Well, you can build these relationships by showing who you are, what you believe in, your authenticity in the office place. So I think that's a really good idea within any niche, especially for the smaller people maybe trying to fight the bigger companies or what have you.
Yeah.
I just think showing your face, personifying is what I call it, personifying your content. And I think that's sort of the best way. In an industry, it's hard to show lumber, right, as like a super interesting visual. It's funny. I was talking to a client the other day. They're trying to promote plexiglass, and it's like that's like the worst thing you could put on camera, right? It's just a piece of glass.
Yeah.
So the idea is like let's put someone behind that plexiglass to show you what it is and who's selling it to you. So just as a generalization, I would say that would probably be my biggest recommendation for these companies.
Totally. Get in front of the camera, show these people who you are 100%. And we have there are companies that do that well. And that's also something that I try to do through LBM Journal because I want genuine connection with our audience. Like, I want them to comment back at me and to start the conversation and to ask questions. Yeah. And like, I post a lot on LinkedIn, and that really, I think, is like just driving connections with people I do business with, and I get a lot of compliments on it, and sometimes I think to myself, oh, this type of content is terrible, and I get compliments on it, and I do think it's helping me, deepen relationships, and that could be done from person to person or from business to consumer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like another thing with that, being a genuine person behind the screen, that being just a great driver for the social presences is like when you don't really have your brand personified on social media, it's like maybe people are less likely to comment because they just feel like they're throwing it out into space and that maybe it's not going to anybody and they're not going to get a response. And sometimes people don't because they don't have someone, going on there and genuinely engaging with their audience. So,
and I understand the companies that don't do it. It's hard to do it. You're putting yourself out. It's like I've certainly gotten pushback on, my larger pages from putting my face on there, and people are going to call you names and they're going to do this and that. But you can't let the squeaky wheel get the grease, right? You have to know that, a lot of people are really appreciating it, and it's growing those touch points, and it's growing that trust over time.
Yeah, and it's all about like finding what works best for you.
Yeah.
But I think that the overall message is authenticity, 100%. Yeah. Did you have any content examples you wanted to share from the research you did on your own in the industry?
Yeah, so you sent me a couple people, and I won't name names because I think I was surprised, and I think you probably sent me these people because they do pretty well. you have some lumber companies making some really good content out there, and
Heck yeah.
it's cool to see. I think little guys like trying to actually have like actually being funky and having fun, like that's super fun. So what I actually went through some of the, I think you gave me 4 or 5 of them. I went through, and almost every single time, the ones that the videos that did the best on Instagram where I watched them was just employees having fun. What I would like to say, like just constructive criticism on them is, I think, in my personal opinion, content should always be as tight as possible. We're living in a generation of people, like, you have like 3 seconds before that person scrolls past, right?
Totally.
So nowadays, and this is like what I call the TikTokification of marketing and social media. Nowadays, you really need to grab people's attention within the first 3 seconds. Mm-hmm. So what I would say is to tighten up and to have a hook at the beginning. Hooks are really easy if you like put it in ChatGPT and just tell them what your content idea is and ask for a hook, and it'll spit out a bunch of hooks. Because if you sit there and you have a 10-second opening, you're just going to lose your audience. So that's what I really liked. I also noticed a couple that teamed with influencers, and I thought, and obviously when you, especially on Instagram, when you team with an influencer and then you do a collaboration on the post, you're obviously going to reach their audience as well. Yeah. Influencers are super powerful, and they're, depending on which ones, I'm assuming, in the lumber industry or people in the local area of any lumber business is probably not that expensive, right? Or you could simply trade them products for some sort of piece of content. And like there was one I saw someone do a DIY project with their lumber, and it sort of shows like what you can do. Again, if you show just like a normal piece of lumber, it's kind of boring, right? But if you show all the different things you can do with it, that's super powerful. So that's really, without like naming names or anything, that's kind of what I saw is like, I thought a lot of them did a great job also of like mixing up content, a mixture of reels, photos, carousels. I'm not a fan of over editing. So like, and I say that after I said tighten it up, but what I mean by that is graphics and the
sure.
Creative Commons business songs in the background. That just doesn't, it looks to me like an old advertisement you'd see on television, where you really want to differentiate yourself from that, right? Like we talked about the change in marketing, where you don't want people to think it's an ad, you want people to think it's content, right? So I would just say, like you want it tight, you want to edit it tight, but also like you don't need all the funky graphics and everything like that. Like just be real and authentic, and people will respond.
Just to piggyback off that, I think there was one that I sent you. There's several that I sent you that do a lot of really great collaborations on Instagram. And I think that there is a lot of opportunity to use that collaboration figure, which is a feature, which is on Instagram, where you can collaborate with other accounts, because like lumber dealers are in the middle of this building material chain. So like we have our suppliers of the product, and then that goes to the dealer, and then the dealer sends it to the builder or sells it to the builder. And so like there are some in our industry that are collaborating with the builder, and there are some that are collaborating with the supplier. And then like you also mentioned the influencer, which is, there are some in our industry that are doing that, and I totally forgot about that. And just some really great opportunity and things that they're doing.
Well, and I am a big fan of mixing up your content so it doesn't all look the same, right? Like, and so when you go through someone's feed and what sticks out, the one that's a little bit different. And so if an influencer is creating content for you and essentially doing marketing for you, and that could be based off pay or trade, it just catches your eye because wait, what am I looking at? So I don't want to call it shock value, but anything that you can really just like get someone's attention, like, I thought this was LBM Journal and it looks a lot different,
Yeah.
And so I think that's another thing to like catch their attention for 3 seconds and stop the endless doom scroll.
Totally. Well, thank you for looking at those that I sent you. I'm sure we all really appreciate that. That was really great of you. But to segue just a little bit, I wanted to segue to different platforms.
Sure.
Specifically LinkedIn and Facebook. So you are on LinkedIn on your personal page, which you are quite active on. There are individuals in the LBM industry, sales reps, owners, lots of people on LinkedIn building their network. You probably also have some experience with company pages. And then I also read one of your LinkedIn posts was about your Facebook revamp, and we can kind of do these in segments, but I just was kind of wondering about any strategy tips you have for these other platforms also, and maybe we can start with LinkedIn, just like what the value these platforms offer and strategy tips.
Each one offers something different, obviously, and the reason I post to LinkedIn now so often is because I actually have had some success with company pages, and I wanted to be on the platform more to learn what worked. So me challenging myself to post every day is part of me trying to get better at it. But I've had some success. But just overarching really quick, as I looked at those Instagram pages that you sent me, if people just simply started by sharing those reels on LinkedIn and TikTok, you could do YouTube Shorts, anything like that. There's nothing bad that's going to happen from that. Like it could only benefit your company to try to just throw that content you plan for Instagram onto those pages. That's not the best strategy in the world, but it's like the least amount of effort if you don't have a lot of money for a whole content team. Mm-hmm. LinkedIn's really interesting because I go back to like authenticity. I think, and I work with some businesses and some companies on this. We really try to give the employees the resources to post on LinkedIn themselves, and then we'll share it to our main accounts, right? So, I think like for a lumber company, like any insights into the lumber industry as in general is always helpful, and I'm sure each sales representative or GM or anything has a lot of insights on that people want to know. And if you're talking about that stuff on LinkedIn, like you're not going to get 1 million people reading it, but you don't need 1 million, right? You just need that like important couple hundred that are decision makers within your industry that want to do business with you, right? So it's a smaller size audience you're typically going to get on LinkedIn, but it's a more powerful audience. And again, like it's really good for like salespeople. Hey, I'm gonna be at this convention. I'll be at booth such and such, or shoot me a DM and let's connect. Also, like for some of the companies I work with, like if we're at a convention, we'll take a picture of our booth, say the booth number, show everyone that's at the booth. It's just like, hey, this is where we are. Come see us. This is who you're gonna see when you get there. So, like for anyone that's doing B2B, and I'm sure a lot of the lumber industry is doing business-to-business transactions.
Yes.
LinkedIn's super powerful, and they've just recently sort of launched their vertical video. I don't even know. It's some sort of launch that they did. They're really diving into vertical video. So again, if you have stuff on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, you could just simply throw it on LinkedIn and hope it works.
Totally.
Facebook. Facebook
Yes.
is a little bit. Facebook's, it is still the biggest social media platform on the planet, right? It has the most users, and like I know, like you, I'm a millennial. Like I am Facebooked out, right? And,
Here's my beef with Facebook.
Yeah.
Every time I go on there, my feed is just like these random accounts, and they're just showing me this AI or literally the most random content ever, and I don't want to see it. And I don't know. It's like the stupidest thing ever to me.
Yes. So here's the benefit of what you just said. They've really gone from being it used to be you would only see content from the companies you follow, your friends, your grandmother or whatever. Now they sort of taken all of these social media companies are recommending content, and Facebook actually tripled down on that, sort of like TikTok. TikTok's funny because you don't even follow people anymore. If you like a piece of their content, then they'll just keep showing it to you until you're sick of it. And Facebook really took that from TikTok, and so they're just showing you a bunch of random stuff nowadays. Now, the reason why that might be annoying to me and you, but it works for businesses because they really, if you create good content, they'll put it in front of a lot more people than it used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be really hard to get new followers on Facebook. Now it seemed the trajectory of it has just sped up. So, and in that regard, Facebook is dying for top-notch content because most people have really tripled down on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and so they're really dying for good content. So if you can put good content on Facebook, you can grow really easily. So I completely understand your frustrations with it. I certainly don't. I very rarely go on it personally, except if I get the notification that my mom tagged me in a picture or whatever, But other than that, I just think it's a good place for businesses to grow. Also, if you're doing, I don't want to talk about like age too much, although age is very important in the social realm because age really dictates for the most part where people are. But if you are looking for sort of older decision maker type people, they might be on Facebook looking for pictures of their grandkids or something, or So it's not the worst place to be, and younger generations might not be on it at all, and that's okay because you do want to be where everyone's at, and so if people are on Facebook, which again is the largest social media platform, you kind of have to be there, right?
Sure. Yeah. Maybe it's because when I go on there on my personal Facebook page, it's not like that. But when I go on the LBM Journal feed, it's just junk after junk. So
yeah,
maybe it's just the business page.
Because you're probably not following a lot of people, right? So there's not a lot for the algorithm to pull. And it's, and Zuckerberg came out, they're not fact checking, they're kind of doubling down on political content. So it really can be like a cesspool in a lot of cases. But again, there is a lot of opportunity for businesses on Facebook. And Facebook, it being the biggest, is still going to continue to evolve and change with society. So I don't see it going anywhere. So I think for younger marketers like us, like we want to ignore it, and it's just not a good idea to ignore it. You do have to be where your audience is. That's
a great reminder. And I actually do think that there is Facebook is quite a great platform for our industry, because what I notice is with some of these LBM dealers being maybe smaller, more localized companies, they use their Facebook page as more of it's for the community, and a lot of community members will just stay up to date and follow local businesses. They can share news that way. So I think it is a powerful platform for a lot of our audience members. And that's how I kind of use it too. Like, say we have a dealer profile that we do a story, and it's those stories where I'm posting pictures of employees that get the most traction because the company reposts it, and then everybody in the community is like, I know that person, and all this kind of stuff. So it is, there's potential there. It can just be quite annoying. And
yeah, that's like Active NorCal's page. You know, we have 150, 160,000 followers. Like, we could get upwards of 20 to 30 million impressions in a month. Like, just to sort of show you its power. We never go below 10. So it's definitely sharing our content with our audience, but also with other audiences.
Yeah.
So, again, it's powerful.
And just to kind of get a few more of your thoughts, you mentioned that Facebook is itching for good content, is what you say. What is good content for Facebook, in your opinion?
I think everyone's different. Visually stimulating is always best, right? If you're going to put some sort of message to your audience on Facebook, you want some sort of accompanying image. Even further than that, vertical video never disappoints. Facebook now has its Reels page where you can scroll kind of like Instagram or TikTok. So it's dying for vertical video to throw on there. So any sort of photo or vertical video, I think is good. And again, it goes back to like not when you're editing a video for like an Instagram reel, not to put a ton of graphics. Don't put a ton of graphics. Don't like design some weird looking flyer. Like, just put a really good picture to go with your messaging. And that, in my from what I've seen, does the best typically. I
am wondering, so I think you were talking about the AIV, aviation something. What is it?
AIN. AIN. Yeah.
AIN. So this is a company you make content for. I think it was their Facebook Reels that you were talking about in your LinkedIn post that really did well. So when I am posting Reels to Facebook, I feel like they don't do well. So do you think it's more of like the videos that you're posting are kind of more for the masses, like they're very entertaining, versus like when you're posting these short vertical videos that are going to be in the Reels feed? And I don't know if that's the same as the Facebook feed, that when they're just for your audience, they're, pushed less by the algorithm, and maybe that's why they don't do as well.
Yeah, so yes and no, based on like the question about to the masses versus to your audience. It's been super interesting because like AIN, like we report mostly on private jets. It's a media company about like private jets essentially. So I've spent the last 5 years going around the world and getting video of the best private jets. So that makes for really good content, like just showing a exterior, interior of a private jet obviously works great. People, it's like when you hear about the lottery, like people just want to dream that they could be in it and fly in it. Mm-hmm. But also we take that video and we put our news on it, right? So if there's big news coming out of Gulfstream, we could take that video of that really, sexy aircraft, and we could put news over the... overlay it on the video and say Gulfstream's doing this, Gulfstream's doing that. So it's both. Like I think we're reaching both the people who are hardcore into the B2B industry, but people who also want to see private jets. Okay. Again, it's just putting really good content on Facebook. I just think it lacks a lot of really good content. Like nowadays, it's kind of hard to break through the noise on Instagram and TikTok because there are so many good content creators on those platforms, where not so much on Facebook. So if you can make really good content both for the masses and for your audience, I think you'll probably succeed. Yeah.
So just visually stimulating, entertaining, and informative, whatever those kind of pillars were we talked about earlier, delivering value through your content. Okay.
Yeah. And if anything else fails, like just vertical video, vertical video, vertical video, like all these platforms are moving to that. So just if you make good vertical video, you're probably going to have success.
Got it. So I'm going to start to kind of wrap it up. I have kind of a question that I'm going to finish this out with, but there is something I just want to ask because I think it could be helpful for myself and for others. I am really just curious about your content creation process. I think that as content creators, you know, it is creative, and I find myself like having to sit down and turn off my phone so that I can focus on trying to be creative. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what your brainstorming process is like.
It's different than that. I would say it's chaotic. I have learned that when I'm feeling inspired to create, that could be at 2:00 in the morning. That could be at 5:00 at night. It doesn't matter. When I really have an idea that I'm passionate about, I get to editing a video or to writing the content. A lot of my videos, unfortunately, like I travel a lot internationally, so a lot of them are like laying in a hotel room bed with jet lag, right? Mm-hmm. So I make a plan, but it's a loose plan. Because for one, I never know what's going to happen within the industry, what kind of news. So for me, it's really hard to plan out in advance. If something major happens, we sort of have to shift, right? So have some sort of plan, whether that's, create a weekly video, create a daily video, that sort of thing. But for me, what works in my chaotic brain is just when I think of something, and it won't get out of my brain, I just do it immediately, and that's worked for me. But I think most importantly, like when you're creating, like just create something you want to watch, like have fun with it. Ultimately, I think if you're a content creator, for one, you should be on like Instagram and TikTok and getting as much inspiration as possible. A lot of times when it's not working for me in my brain and I'm having trouble coming up with stuff, I'll get on TikTok or I'll get on Instagram and I'll search the topic that I sort of need to create for, and I'll scroll through and find interesting stuff to inspire me. You do have to have some sort of way to inspire yourself, which is hard, and there is burnout. Burnout's real. Like that's why I don't force myself to do it, all day, every day, because I know when it comes and I feel good about it and I want to create, that I make better stuff. Create some sort of calendar, try to stick with it, but ultimately, like, whatever your fun meter is telling you to do, like, go do that and have fun with it.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, well, there's kind of a question that I ask at the end of all of my chats, which we kind of just touched on with a little bit of your advice, but I guess it would just be, what would you, Zach, what kind of advice would you give to maybe an independent LBM dealer who is just trying to use social media for their business, if you have anything else to add?
Social media is what you make of it, right? Like if you want to commit to a weekly post, great, you're going to get weekly results. If you want to commit to posting daily, you're going to get daily results. If you want to commit to posting 5 times a day, you're going to get results 5 times out of the day. So it really is, you get out of it what you put into it. That also, in terms of investment, like if you want to be successful in social and you don't invest in, say, the right equipment or the right people, it's just not going to work. There's so many people who just want it to work without investing in it, and there's just so many really talented creators nowadays that are in every single industry and every single niche that you're going to be competing with. I always say, like, you're not competing with your competitor, you're competing with, like, pictures of my kid, you know? So if I post a picture of my 2-year-old on Instagram and his grandmother sees that, like, she's not going to care anything what content you put out. So, like, social media is emotional, it's fun, it's educational, it's entertaining. So you just have to, like, think about what makes you happy on social media, what brings you value on social media, and try to mirror that with your content, and just have fun with it. Like, I always think, like, the director Quentin Tarantino, I saw this behind the scenes with him. He was making a movie, and, like, they stopped the cut, and he said, okay, we got the scene, like, it's good to go, but we're going to do it one more time because we love making films, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I think about that, like, all the time. Like, if you're not loving what you're doing, other people aren't going to love it either. So however you need to turn that around with your strategy or how you create in your brain, do it. Because otherwise, if you're laboring to put out content, people are gonna see right through it, and they're gonna see that it's not fun for you. So that would be my number one thing: have fun, and just show up consistently.
Totally. I don't have anything to add to that. But if anybody wants to connect with Zach, you can find him on LinkedIn at Zach O'Brien. If you want to check out some of the content that you guys share on Instagram, just kind of the value that they're sharing, you can look up Active NorCal, as in Northern California. Yeah. And go check out kind of what Zach is up to. So yeah, anything else to add, Zach?
No, thank you for having me. And I think this is great what you're doing. You know, we talk a lot about, like, creating communities, and you're creating your own little community with this podcast. And I think that's really cool and really helpful for just everyone within your industry. So thanks for having me. I hope people can learn from, like, I know I'm way outside your industry, but I do think it's all connected. So anyway, kudos to you. I think this is great what you're doing, and thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for the compliments. That means a lot, and I think this was great. So we appreciate you coming on, Zach.